Hello, I'm Gogol. I would like to tell you about PySimpleGUI. I will tell you how I write GUI, some of the general techniques and applications written in PySimpleGUI. I assume that you know Python and those words are not scary to you. So let's start. Install PySimpleGUI with pip install PySimpleGUI. It's one package with no dependencies. In fact, the whole package is in one file. There are fundamental concepts in PySimpleGUI. These concepts give you a method of building your GUI that you want to show to your user and interact with the user. So these concepts are elements concept, the layout concept, the naming key concept, event and values concept. You will understand all of those concepts. Just watch the video. The basic building blocks are called elements. In other frameworks, they are called widgets. Essentially, there are two types of elements. First is simple or core element or primitive element. This element is actually what contains valuable data. It can be Boolean value, number, text, picture, whatever. Simple elements are text, button, input, radio or slider. They are all simple elements. And then there are containers, those interesting elements. They actually don't hold any information, but rather they hold simple elements or containers like themselves. So it's like a matryoshka. It's a thing inside of the other thing. As it turns out, it's very useful. It's like a bag for carrying out food. Okay, imagine holding 20 bananas in your hand. People made a plastic bag. Okay, imagine holding 10 plastic bags in one hand. People made a box. Okay, now try to hold 5 boxes. People made a cart. Okay, try to imagine carrying 5 carts. People made a truck. And you get the idea. When you open your car, you open a box, and then you open the plastic bag, peel out the banana, and finally you can eat it. So in PySimpleGUI, there is a container like column element, frame element, tab, and a tab group element, and also a Python list. And there is one special class, hg.window. What's so special about it? It simply creates a GUI from your 2D lists. This is a very simple example. I make a layout variable where I make my GUI. I make a window object, and here I enter the while loop where I read events from the window and I print the event name and the values dictionary. I will explain this a bit later. So now I can run this. When I click the button, window gives me an event, and the event name is button 1 because I pressed the button 1, and this values, this is current state of other elements. Example with container elements will be in the future. The layout concept. How do you make a layout? This is how. Imagine your GUI. Take a minute and draw it on a paper. Divide your GUI into rows. Enumerate elements in each row and write corresponding element in PySimpleGUI in Python. Event and value concept. Event concept is a very straightforward concept. It is the easiest to understand. So when the code gets to this line, window.read, it stops and waits. It waits for an event, meaning anything that takes place or happens. A button click is an event. After a button click, your code continues to run. The event variable is the event name, and values is the current state of elements values. It's a Python dictionary where keys are elements keys and value are their data. Now here I say if this event equals to OK, that means that if I click the OK button, then I will print this message. And here you see the result. This idea of processing event, reading event, processing event, reading event, this is why I use while loop. This is what happens in every GUI application, and PySimpleGUI allows you to make your own main loop. A lot of demo programs in PySimpleGUI repository has this structure. Make your layout, make your main object, make a loop where you process events, and close the window at the end. Timeout parameter. What if you don't want to wait for a user event, yeah? It is possible to automatically generate an event every half a second. Yes, just say timeout equals 500, so 500 milliseconds. Now I can watch the events popping up. And my buttons still work. This is the mechanism of doing something in the background. Please don't set timeout to 0, because this will make your CPU crazy. So give it at least 10 milliseconds. So the simple rule. Yeah. I want to show you how to get a keyboard event. You can turn on the keyboard events inside of the input element, or you can do it globally, so it will react on every key press. Here is example. Turn up the volume to clearly hear the key presses. And events don't pop up because I focus on the reset button. This is the second way, the global keyboard events. This will react to keyboard everywhere. You can click buttons by space. That's the whole example. Imagine that you're walking along the street and you want to say hello to the stranger. You say hello ... yeah. If you knew his name, you would say hello Eddie, hello Mike, hello Gogol. Now every PySimpleGUI element is like an entity with a name. You can name your elements by using key parameter. It's big power to name something in your reality. What would you do if you didn't know the element's name? Well, nothing. It's hard to talk with somebody if you don't know his name. Every PySimpleGUI element has a name. Even if you don't specify the key parameter, it still exists. When you make a button element without giving the key parameter, it uses the title for its key. So what I will do is delete text elements and make a couple of input elements, one multi-line element and also a spin element. 15 elements, I will choose 4 and size will be 10 and 1. I will move buttons a little bit and delete those two events. As you can see, I don't give any key parameter to those elements. By default, a key for every element is an integer index in hierarchical order. And the values dictionary will have this integer mapping to the respective real value. So you still can access it, but you will use integers. In order to distinguish different elements, these keys, these names, should be unique to each element. Don't make two inputs with the same key. The interesting feature is that the key can be any hashable type, like a string, a tuple, an integer. Finalize equals true. I use finalize equals true when this happens. I made my layout, I initialize the window variable, and before entering the while loop, I want to change the value of my elements in the GUI. I don't need to change elements in place where I made them, over here. And I don't need to call like window.read with timeout equals 0. No. All I need is pass finalize equals true to the window objects and just call the element and update with my data that I want to update. The nice part is that you don't need to change the layout variable definition. You just update the elements. Aliases. Instead of text I can type T, instead of button I can type B, so you can save a couple of keystrokes. Now try it yourself. Make, for example, a registration page. Split the GUI into rows, make elements with their respective keys, and try different elements. Spin element, listbox element, the drop element. A lot of elements are in PySimpleGUI documentation. And after clicking on a registration button, you can save your values dictionary, for example, into a file. So try it out.